Fiat Republic presents Crypto Legends Live Paris.
So for the little story, this building is where I started my career in 2008. That's my very, very first job. And what's quite funny about it is that it was part of the old world. So I was doing leverage buyout back then, 2008, literally started 15 days after Lehman Brothers disaster. I actually saw that one of you guys have a T-shirt about Lehman Brothers, so it has to be definitely the day and the right person in the audience. And this was the old world, and it was before basically I haven't heard about crypto. I think many of us heard about crypto. I think a lot of changes have happened, and we are getting closer and closer for crypto to be mainstream. A few years ago, people didn't even know the concept. It's not widespread yet, but at least it has reached people's vocabulary. And tonight we will be discussing with my panel and my esteemed guest about what can we do more to actually bring crypto to the mainstream, moving it from an investment asset, which is great, but potentially even as a method of payments. So just to get started, I would love for a quick intro of each of you. Bertrand, would you like to start?
Sure, thanks. So Bertrand Godin, I'm one of the co-founders of Fipto and COO. Fipto is a solution for corporates to manage all their payments, whether in crypto or fiat. And it's targeting business with business services such as multi-sig, valuation in euro, which needs to comply with your auditors, and also a partner which is equivalent of what you would have as a bank for traditional currencies, but managing both crypto and fiat from the conversion to the payment side.
Mounir.
Hi everybody, I'm Mounir. I'm the co-founder of Finary. We are building an app that allows everybody to track and manage their investments, and we started by building the best portfolio tracker out there. And yesterday we launched actually our crypto investment product. So we are venturing now into the world of crypto, and we are working with Fiat Republic on that.
Thank you. Alexis?
Volontiers. So I'm Alexis. I work for Bitpanda, Wolf-Alexis Puttfarken, long name. I am the commercial director responsible for France and Benelux. That's the main function. I also look at tokenization topics for Bitpanda. And I used to run our exchange traded notes business up until March.
Hello, so Nicolas. I'm CEO of Coinhouse, and so we are an investment platform dedicated to retail and business clients, and we are also offering additional services such as staking and investment solutions for all our clients.
Thank you so much. So as you see, we have plenty different point of views, and that's the reason why we put this panel together. And to kickstart this discussion, I would love to understand a bit or co-build a definition of what means bringing crypto to the mainstream. What is mainstream crypto? How it's going to look like? What kind of KPI do you have in mind? And we can talk about retail, corporates, etc. Who would like to start? Nicolas.
Okay, so I will start. So as you know, we have with Adan, and there is also some other players in the world conducting some study about the penetration of the crypto market. We came to figures around 8 to 11% of French people, and in some countries you will find much more, especially in Latin America or even in some in Southeast Asia. You find 20% of the population owning cryptos. It sounds very interesting. It's not necessarily what you will see in the street when you meet people. So it also comes to the definition of what is owning crypto. Is it just an investment of 20 euros? Is it really putting some money, believing that it's a future in terms of investment, or it could be used for payment, either for company or for people? So definitely the percentage is, I believe, a little bit below, and especially in the bear market. It's much below. So I believe that the real figures will be probably closest to probably 20 to 25% when we will reach really this penetration. We'll really talk about mass market. We are still in the cross chasm paradigm in terms of market penetration. For company, I will let my colleagues speak about it.
Happy to just jump on it. So my answer is a bit shorter. I think that mass adoption has to mean reaching 200 to 300 million people using that technology, not necessarily just crypto, but blockchain technology in its various ways in their day-to-day lives.
Thank you. Bertrand, I would love to understand the corporate perspective, please.
Yes, sure. And I will put it from more payments perspective, not investments. I think we can look at it as a comparison with different currencies. Today, how many corporates are having accounts or paying in other currencies than euro? I think from this point of view, we're really far in terms of cryptocurrencies. And the day we're going to have figures that are getting closer to this, maybe not the figure of today. I think we need to compare with 30 years ago, maybe when Swift launched. In fact, could be a good reference. And when we're going to get this kind of level, I think we're going to see it as a global adoption.
Thank you. Mounir, do you have anything to add on this specific point? Crypto to the mainstream, the definition?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna speak as an individual more than as a founder. I think when crypto stops being a solution that looks for a problem, maybe then it will become mainstream. And the main issue today is that basically we're building a lot of stuff, but it's not really useful. So for me, I'm always thinking when I don't know that crypto powers something, then maybe this is the day that it happens. So maybe in gaming, when actually the game is blockchain based, but I have no idea and it's just as fluid as any other game I'm playing on my phone or whatever. This is the day that we will have a breakthrough. I think we're very far away from that. And I also think that maybe the answer will come from the B2B space and more specifically all the use cases in finance. So maybe it's when the DeFi managed to convince banks to actually do more than just an MVP or throw like $1 million at some guinea pig project. But I think this is actually pretty close to happening.
Thank you. That's a different point of view, but I would like actually to jump into the crypto investment plan that you just launched, because essentially it's something that has been asked by your users very much. We have seen also quite a lot of traction in the past few weeks. And of course, like watching your video on YouTube, this is part of crypto investments is part of your pyramid for specific type of people, right? So I would love that you run us through right now, according to you, what kind of person should invest in crypto or at what point of wealth, I would say, and if you think that eventually it's going to become a must-have of any portfolio. I'm not asking for time horizon, but more, yeah.
Sure. So maybe just to give some context, so our persona is basically somebody who works in a large corporation who makes between 80K and 150K and who has a net worth around 500K. And so what we saw is that among these people, actually the intent to invest in crypto was very high, but the portion that in their assets that was actually invested in crypto was very low. So this is why we decided to do a crypto investment product first. And so what we see today is that on average, they invest between 300 and 400 euros per month in crypto. It's actually quite high, I think. On average, 80% of them invest in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah. So it's very concentrated in the big assets. It's a DCA product, so it's about investing every day, week, months. So it's long-term, definitely. What we recommend is that we don't recommend anything because we don't give financial advice. But if I should give financial advice, I would probably recommend between 5 and 10% exposure to the asset class. I think it's a must-have. If you want to get alpha in this market, you should definitely have crypto. If you are a risk taker, then you should probably also go into DeFi. But yeah, I think everybody should have Bitcoin and Ethereum at least in their portfolio. And there are so many interesting also applications. You can stake, you can lend, Even though there were some issues in the past, I think the sector is getting more solid. So you can also start doing stuff with your assets, not just see them go up. And I think this is actually the best time to invest in crypto because nobody's looking anymore. Yeah. When I see it again on TV and on the front page of magazines, then I'm probably starting to sell again because it will be too late. Yeah. But yeah, so far we're seeing great response and the interest is very high. And what we see is that our users are not actually traders. They are really in for the long term and they believe that eventually crypto will outperform stocks, even though the returns will eventually also converge. But for now, there's a lot more alpha in this asset class.
Thank you so much. It's actually an excellent bridge for my next question around education, and that's like an open question. Bringing crypto to the mainstream and to more and more people needs education of people so that they understand like the benefits as well as potentially the risk of crypto. I would love to dive into the difference of crypto education when it comes to educating for crypto as an investment versus crypto as a payment method. So that's like the first part of the question. And the second would be, what can companies and regulators do to accelerate the adoption, basically? Who would like to have a first crack?
I think it's almost me. So, difference between education between investment and another topic. Well, you find already quite a lot of resource. The question might be around the quality because there are and there was a law that was and promise we are not talking to talk too much about regulation anymore. But there was a law in France that was discussed recently about influencers and their ability for some of them to promote scammy project. And because they were based in some jurisdiction, it was not necessarily appropriate for the government or for the regulators to identify it and make sure that they follow the rules. So we came to a solution in order to protect a little bit more against the bad education. Because you will find on most platform and including Coinhouse, but amongst all of us, quite a lot of resources and very good also media talking every day, putting some YouTube channels and interesting videos about project. The question is also related to finance and to innovation, which are two topics very difficult for people in general to handle. And so probably the way for people will be the simplification and in some way maybe the asset management. I do believe that part of the people will be always interesting, especially in the new generation, about learning about new technologies, about educating themselves and so on. But they have also to be protected because some ways they can go through a very stupid project and lose their money. But for most people, and probably the one that you mentioned as the customer of clients of Finary, maybe they don't have the time to educate themselves and maybe they don't know so much. And you cannot give advice to anyone. For instance, at Coinhouse, we do have this particularity to target as you more high-end customer. We do advice because we are regulated also for that. But you cannot do it for 1 million people without significant teams and cost. So right now it's only for some particular people which are able to pay and put decent money on the table. For the other, I do believe that the asset management will probably allow people to access much more easily and in a secure way to crypto. What is asset management? ETF in some way, and the ability to put crypto in traditional asset classes such as life insurance and other products that you could put probably one day in your PEA, in your traditional product, and that's a way for you to also believe in some traders, in some research team, in some people being able to show traction, to show what they've been able to demonstrate in terms of performance and so on, and then choose the best. That for me will be at least for the investment, the big evolution, and probably when the people will reach 25, 30, 40 people of 40% of the population, which in Europe is already hundreds of millions of people.
Would someone want to have a crack on the same question?
Maybe I can do on the more payment side again.
Go for it.
I think on payment, we don't necessarily need education as much as an investment. If we look today, how many people do know how a payment works? You know, when you send euro to somebody, when you're an international payment, how many banks are involved? What's the complexity around this? I think people don't really need to know here. They just need to have a user-friendly way to use it. And not even necessarily know that there is cryptocurrency behind. What they need is the final usage of the product in a simple way. And if crypto makes it better, just it's enough already.
Thank you. Both Mounir and Nicolas mentioned access in different ways, that you provided your users didn't have really access all the time to get crypto. You gave it to them. Nicolas mentioned the same topic. I would love to actually get your point of view, Alexis, with Bitpanda Technology Solutions, because right now, basically, like the bridges between Web 2 and Web 3 are nascent. And your solution effectively enables banks and fintechs to bring easily crypto to their users. So can you tell a little bit about that, and maybe the leverage effect that it represents, and maybe also the leapfrog effect that it represents for your banks and your fintech customers?
Sure. So where do I start? So firstly, nascent, I think, is correct. So the space has only been recently really regulated with MiCA. It's still about to come into force. France is a good way ahead, but we're seeing now finally a regulation coming into force that standardizes, that raises the standards, that makes passporting possible, that makes things safer also for users, and that will also unlock a lot of business across the EU. What is the keyword for BTS, for Bitpanda Technology Solutions, is infrastructure. So fintechs and banks are the main gateways for people to interact with Web3. So you need safekeeping of your coins. You will also have behind the scenes changes in the back offices and middle offices, switching the old infrastructure to DLT infrastructure. All of these things are currently happening. And you need to have this in a regulated environment. Now, what is happening out there at the moment, the banks are out building their target operating models in various ways. So we see brokerage operating models, banks like, I don't know, our partner Raiffeisen building a full stack multi-asset trading offering. We see private wealth companies coming up saying, hey, I have a custody solution. I need other modules. I need market access. I need compliance. Can you help me with that? All these things are happening, and what all these companies have in common is that they need bits of infrastructure that are effectively bank-like, right? That are audit-proof, that have ideally been seen by a regulator, that have been in place for a while, that are trustworthy, that come from a big trustworthy company. And when you look at Bitpanda, we've been around for quite a while. We have 12 licenses or something at the moment. I lost count to some extent. MiFID Institute, we have the German BaFin cryptocurrency and proprietary trading licenses, VASP registrations in pretty much every country, and we've had those for a while, which means that we can go, and we're a broker with 4 million clients that also does the security, so we're not small. So we can go up to every bank and say, hey, this is the whole panoply of things we have, starting from custody to compliance, to an audit-proof ledger, to market access, to various booking modules, to data feed. And you can use these as a one-stop shop, or pick any of those modules and add that to your stack and build something on top of that. And that's effectively what BTS does. This is what we do.
Thank you so much. Bertrand, I would love to jump into the corporate side of things. We have talked a lot about retails. You have touched upon payments. Can you tell us basically the inception of Fipto and what business need you have been focused on and how your corporate users are using crypto.
Sure. So my two associates and I were coming from the payment side in corporates, so it's a business we know quite well. What we saw is that today we consider payment, and in particular international payments and exotic currencies even more, is not at the level we expect. Today I can get a delivery from Amazon probably tomorrow, but when I send some reals to Brazil, it's going to take a few days probably and cost me a lot. And I think here we can still do better around mainly speed, transparency, and cost. And if we take all the fintech from the 2010s, the first payment service directive, we all build on top of the current rails, nice solution, new technology, but everybody is still using the same infrastructure under it, which is SWIFT, correspondent banking system. And today it's a great infrastructure, super resilient, but it doesn't allow to solve the 3 pain points that we have on payment. And blockchain and cryptocurrencies is a super good alternative to have a better user experience on this. So that's why we created Fipto, and also we're convinced that more and more financial services are going to be blockchain based in the future, and companies need help to have access to it.
I love the fact that it ties back to what Mounir is saying. It's like it doesn't matter about using crypto or blockchain, just when it's presented and it's really solved the need, basically. Or like a big problem that you are experiencing. Before we move to the last open question and then open the questions to the audience, I would love to know, so you have just said, okay, I'm from the payments world, but do you have any requests from your users about, like from your corporate users about investments, actually holding Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything like that, like as part of their treasury management?
No, in fact, almost nothing. And we launch product discovery around it. I think our clients are not in this need. They want to pay a supplier somewhere, don't necessarily want to invest, or they wouldn't go to us to do it. It's not our specialty. Some of them have to manage their crypto, not necessarily invest with us. But no, we try to explore, with good product discoveries with potential clients. Maybe it was a trend, I think, for our clients a couple of years ago. But today we don't really see it as a need, again, in our client database.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. So for our last question is going to be an open question, and I would love to know what do you think would be the 2-3 key things that DASP should do to help bring crypto mainstream, and that they might not have started doing, or who wants to start?
Should I start this time?
Yeah, go for it, Alex.
So I thought about this question, and I'm ultimately I think a lot of the movement we see in the market is down to regulation, and my call out would be to really work with the regulators, work with the legislators if you can, to really push regulation further, because only stuff like MiCA unlocks markets and potential, and we see that now everything that gets touched by MiCA kind of comes together, and we look at the tokenization space as well. There we see the DLT pilot regime, which is great but doesn't really go far enough because it's limited in the time horizon and the volumes that can go through it. We have another framework in Germany, which is, I would say, a little bit leaner, a little bit less spectacular, but at the same time gets more pickup just because it's law and it's going to stay. So those are things we can learn from. And DeFi is another point. The previous panel, I think, also touched upon this. It has a lot of use cases. It certainly feels a lot like something that institutional players can use, but it's not regulated. So no regulated institution is ever going to even look at it properly. There are some banks, I know Germany, Hauck Aufhäuser, for instance, did a lot of homework on DeFi, but to my knowledge, at least, they're not really doing anything, and it just lacks the regulatory framework.
Nicolas.
Yeah, I will leave the investment space and maybe focus on the enterprise. we have not talked too much about Web3 and other application, metaverse, and so on. I do believe that to accelerate the deployment and make also a cool solution for end users, we have also to work with companies, especially large ones, which are really interested in developing new services, marketing services, payment system, as Fipto is doing, but also new tools for developing their relationship with their customer, and that would go through blockchain technology, and at the end with crypto, and would probably put crypto tokens in the wallet of everyone, and we need also people to understand how a wallet works. This is one of the biggest issue for accelerating the growth in the market. So working with those large companies and so on, and bringing nice solutions, easy solution, secure solution, as companies such as Ledger is doing, Fireblocks and some other, is really important, I believe. Yeah.
Mounir?
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit contrarian on that one. I don't believe that more regulation is the good solution here. So typically, from my point of view, so we have to switch to MiCA. This just means more work for us, more costs also. I think it also advantages large players. One of my shareholders is the co-founder of Bitpanda. I love the company, but obviously they have way more means than we do. So I think eventually adding more regulation will also hinder new players to enter the field. We looked, before we launched crypto, we looked into traditional securities, and we didn't go there because the regulation there is so much more heavier. There's so much more work. Also, the rails that you build on are crap, so there's also technical reasons to it. So I think the solution is eventually that the regulator should get their stuff straight. When we applied and we got our VASP registration, a lot of the points where we lost time was actually because there wasn't clarity. It's just we just brought an answer and they came back to us with another question, but we just ended up tiptoeing around a lot of points. I think it's not the regulator's fault. It's just they're discovering also it's a new field, but eventually a pragmatic regulation would probably make more sense. Also accepting the fact that what's happening now or the applications that are emerging are new, so we cannot regulate before they emerge, so we shouldn't hinder the advantage we have in Europe. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but definitely more regulation in this space doesn't feel like the right answer. Also, it's not because somebody's regulated that they cannot lose money for clients. I think banks have been doing a fantastic job for 100 years, so I don't see why this would change anything.
Thanks. Bertrand, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think on the VASP side also, our mission is to help CFOs or treasurer or any individual or companies to have access to these tools as easy between brackets as traditional assets, without having all the complexity that they would have with their auditors, with everything. Having a solution which would be the same as a bank account. Even if it's not a perfect solution today, it's not always easy, especially if you're an institutional clients opening bank accounts, but at least trying to be at the same level of difficulty for a client, not more. So everybody can open easily crypto wallets, whether they are an individual or corporate, and if they want to invest in it or just use it as a payment mean.
Thank you. I actually have a last cheeky question inspired by Mounir. I'm sorry. And after that, I leave to you guys to ask a question. So I understood from the previous discussion that actually the collaboration with the French regulator has been brilliant because they have welcomed actually the discussion, and it has been pushed by the players in the ecosystem, and that's how a lot of progress has been made. But from your perspective, what would you wish French regulator or even broader more regulators, because I know you have different regulation, you're regulated, for example, in 12 different countries. What do you wish regulators would do that they don't do currently to help accelerate crypto to the mainstream?
Are there any regulators in the room or no?
No, but probably I think clarity it's always a matter, and not only in crypto. You know, if we look at the payment side or any other recent regulation we got for the AML directive, clarity is always the biggest risk for any company. Once the rules are clear, everybody is fine to comply with them. But fast changing rule and lack of clarity, I think it's always an issue for private actors. Before we end up having compliance developments every time, as soon as we finish one new feature, we're gonna go to the next one, you know, which is travel rule right now for us. Whatever is gonna be the next one, but we know it's not gonna stop there. There's gonna be a Mika 2, there's gonna be something else. So we never stop, and just if we can do everything as fast as possible and with maximum clarity, I think it's helping us a lot.
Yeah, I do believe the same clarity, and not talking necessarily about one regulator, but about all regulators, because some of them are much more clear and stable. They have not changed their mind so much. But in some other European country, you've been regulated in several countries. We've been talking to some regulators that were totally fine with what we said and what we said 6 months ago, and now they just change their mind. It's just also because they have no necessarily defined the laws, as was explained in the previous panel very clearly. So, and it's not also a question about only Europe, but it's also the level play field with all our applications. At least when you target end customers like retail, you can use application from different countries in the world very far from Europe without any blocker. It's not exactly the same in the traditional in the TradFi, and so we are a little bit suffering from this as well, and our clients or just the retail market can suffer, and probably want people living in Bahamas and maybe making sure that in Europe, in the US, in Asia, we find a level play field and something little bit more similar than the big mess that we have right now.
Thank you. Does anyone has any question for our panel before we wrap up?
So Mounir, you talked about regulation potentially preventing or stifling innovation, right? And stifling builders. I have a slightly different view. And I agree with you that, you know, regulation shouldn't come before innovation. I agree with you. But in terms of regulation as providing a level playing field, right? And almost like providing clarity and providing a platform upon which companies or institutional investors that are investing in companies like yours, like mine, can rely on for predictability, for mitigating their risks. Doesn't it help?
Yeah, it helps, definitely. I'm going to give you another example where it's currently very interesting to see how regulation is probably hindering innovation. It's AI. And typically when I see things like people want to ban AI, so I think the European government want to ban AI. I don't even know how that's possible. I think there was the same discussion in crypto where people wanted to ban blockchain. So it's creating so much noise that it's also kind of sending the wrong message. In the end, it's an asset for companies that are regulated. But as we move on, I think, and also to be honest, we as a company decided to get the registration because we wanted to convert it into a license. And we believe that in 10 years, it will be so much harder that almost no new player will be able to afford just getting this license, which is exactly what you see currently in the banking space, where nobody can become like a real bank in a sense because it's so expensive, requires so much more capital. And this is because there are like 100 years or maybe, I don't know, 50 years or 70 years of regulation. So yes, if you happen to be in the right place, right time, I think everybody here is, but eventually it slows everybody down. And when you look at banks again, I don't think the innovation comes from them. They are more on the slower side of things, not because there are not smart people there. It's just because every time somebody has an idea, they have to check with 100 people if it's okay, and then compliance comes in, and then basically it's over. And then they buy startups, so it's also great for us because we can then build something that
you can have an exit to Bahamas, right?
Exactly. But in the end, yeah, I cannot. I'm not obviously like anti-regulation or anti-government or whatever, but I also don't see a place where this is actually. I don't think it empowers business. That would be a bit exaggerated. I think it creates a level playing field. I think it's an advantage, and definitely creates trust with customers. We saw it as soon as we got the registration. The perception changed, but the perception is also very different from what is actually happening. So I think typically in VASP, and maybe I'm not making my case, I think in VASP the perception is actually higher than the standards are to get the license. So people think it's actually a really big thing. It's not that hard to get it. I think once it will be a registration, then it will be actually aligned. But there is also a mismatch here between what people think. So sometimes having the registration, people think, it must be a great company. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually a secure service. There are many companies that were regulated and that eventually failed or lost money for their clients or that scammed them. So also it's for me it's not like the answer to everything. Yeah,
I agree.
Thank you so much, everybody. So now time for drinks and nibbles. We can stay here until 9 p.m. So I hope you had a lovely time with our panel. Thank you, Nicolas and Alexis and Mounir and Bertrand. And enjoy the rest of the evening.